Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Pits of Motor Chaos. This show's Dave. I got another special guest, top alcohol funny car driver, Brian Gawlik. How's it going, Brian?
Good. How you doing, Dave?
Not bad at all. So, Brian, first question I got for you is, how did you get into drag racing?
Well, started off, I was actually at tech school, and there was a car show. And a gentleman by the name of Bob Rossetti was down there with a couple of his cars for the car show, and he had the Rolling Stones Cuda as well as the Tweety's Rat Vega. And I just had to get involved. I couldn't get enough of it. Started asking a bunch of questions, and the rest is history. Evolved from there, from meeting a bunch of people and, meeting all of my friends at this point. And, it evolved from that point on, just making acquaintances and helping people with their cars, throughout the years. And here I am. Now I own my own car, somehow.
So what year did you start drag racing?
I would say, as far as helping, it would be 2010, believe it or not. And then I bought my first car, which was an Altered out of Florida. And I want to say about 5-6 years ago. So things kind of accelerated rapidly as far as my desire to drive, from helping people, and then I bought my own car. And push come to shove, I had an opportunity to buy a top alcohol car, so I did, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
Now, how many years have you been driving the funny car now?
So my car, I've only been driving for, this will be my second year. We purchased the car January of last year from Andy Bolt, and purchased the motor from Eric Laurie, from a complete motor. And, over the course of a few weeks to a few months, I started accumulating the parts that I needed to finish putting the car together. And around, I want to say May or so, it was, it might have been even April, but I'm not 100% sure. We had a car ready to go and started making attempts at licensing passes at Maple Grove's points race, where we discovered we had some ignition issues from that point on, which took quite a while to figure out. Once we finally figured it out, I was able to get my license officially. I want to say it was somewhere around June or July. Again, I apologize for not having the dates on the top of my head here. But at that point, we made 3 races last year, and we competed up in New England, or I should say in New England Dragway. I apologize. That was the first race, the regional, and then that allowed me to enter national events. So I ended up entering the Maple Grove National and qualifying there, as well as the Charlotte National, and qualified there as well. The car kind of worked very well for us. It's a proven car. The car never failed us as far as threw us for any curveballs. It just, everything kind of worked really well and real smooth. And in a year's time, we did what we expected to be at the end of this year. We had already accomplished everything by the end of last year. So things kind of worked real well for us and progressed rapidly. So, going into this year, we feel real confident with the car. I feel real confident with my skill set as far as driving, but I do know I have a lot to learn yet. Unfortunately, the last run at Charlotte last year ended up hitting some cones, 4 to be exact, and, it was kind of, up until that point, every run, the car kind of went straight down the racetrack. And then, that last run, it definitely threw me for a curve and, got me back up on my toes to pay attention a little bit more and, try not to let the car get away from me.
So what was the fastest pass you made with that car?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So what was the fastest pass you made with the car?
So the fastest pass I made with the car was at Charlotte last year. Like I said, we were progressing faster and faster every run and making small changes, and the car was just working for us. But we finished the end of the year with a best time of 560 at 259 miles an hour.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now, for this year, how many events are you looking to hit?
Well, provided everything works out this year, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows what's going on,
Yeah.
as well as you. But provided we can start off the season at Charlotte like we wanted to at the end of April, I have some plans to go to 9 races this year, 4 national and 5 regional races.
Now, who are all your crew members?
So my crew members are my crew chief and tuner, Lou Scrow. I actually crewed on his car back when he had a top alcohol funny car in 2010 through 12, hence my desire to do this. I had a lot of fun working on his car and a lot of fun traveling, and now I wanted to do my own thing. So he's my number one crew guy. He's also my partner in the car as well. So there's Lou, and then there's my father. His name's Wayne. He's one of just a random crew guy, you could so to speak. Frank, he is, and was supposed to be, I should say, my clutch guy, but some things are changing this year. He has some unfortunate issues with work, but I hope to still have him around. He's a really good guy. I have, his name's Peter. I can never say his last name. I'm gonna butcher it here. It's Ferrer, but Peter Ferrer, I'm gonna call him. He's one of Lou's buddies. He helps out as well. And then we also brought on, a lot of people know him, Eric Sindrich. He is actually now going to take on the clutch duties for me, as well as myself being in the crew. I do the bottom end. But I don't have a lot of guys, mainly because I like to have what's needed and that's it. With this type of car and the class, sometimes too many people is worse off and start falling over everybody and in each other's way. So that's pretty much who we have right now. And then of course I have the celebrity crew members, my kids, but that's another story. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any sponsorship?
Okay, so yes, I have a gentleman that helped me last year, and he's continuing to help me this year. Kenny Rex Equipment, out of Schnecksville, Pennsylvania. I have Molly Motorsports. They came on board this year with me. At the end of last year, we started talking, and Molly owns Clevite. Molly owns Victor Rhines, and I'm getting pistons and pretty much all the products, bearings, etc. From them, which is the best stuff in the market. So I can't complain there at all. They've been very supportive and very helpful with everything this year. Especially Autocraft, Jeff Davis and his son-in-law is Jeff Zalas. They are actually, as we speak, so to speak, working on my body. As I said before, I hit some cones last year and did some damage, so unfortunately it needed some repair work, and it's down at their shop, and everything has gone through, and we're going through a whole new paint scheme this year. Very thankful for those guys, meeting them through the nostalgia world that I started from, and I'm grateful to have 2 of the best guys working on the body to make it look as good as it's going to look. I did plan on debuting the new paint job at Charlotte, but let's hope Charlotte happens this year.
Yeah. Now, you said you started off your drag racing career with a altered, right?
Well, so yes and no. I mean, I started off crewing for Nostalgia Funny Cars with Bob Rossetti, and I helped Bob Toth and on Rocky Roxlow's Time Bomb, and then I started crewing on Lou Scrow's top alcohol car. When Lou decided to retire, so to speak, and sell everything he had, I ended up working on a top alcohol dragster with Tom Fox for many years, and through that process, I decided I'm not having. I don't want to say I wasn't having fun, but I wanted to know what it was like to drive. And Bob Rossetti gave me the first opportunity to drive his Nostalgia Funny car, the Funny Farm Pinto. And then when Bob decided to take a break, I helped Rocky Carone for many years as well, and Rocky was instrumental in pushing me to chase a dream that I was trying to live out, and here I am. But he let me drive his car, the Super Camaro / Screaming Eagle. I ended up getting my advanced ET license in that car, and at that point, I had purchased my first car, which was a 125-inch wheelbase, altered 23 Model T body, and it had a big block Chevy injected on alcohol. The best time in that car was an 860. I'm sorry. It was an 8, man, I can't even remember, 820 at 160 miles an hour, or somewhere give or take there. And that car was, I did sell that car, but I was in the process of building a blown alcohol Hemi for it. I was going to put a nostalgia funny car body on it, or the whole 9 yards. And about 4 days before I was ready to order the last pieces to the puzzle, the opportunity to buy this alcohol car came up, and to chase what I was actually after. And at that point, I decided to sell everything and go after the real dream. And now that's what I'm doing now. Or as some people say, a nightmare, but depends on how you look at it.
Right. Now, with the top Aka funny car, what do you got? A blower engine on that one?
Yes, it's a screw blown PSI supercharger 521 Hemi, tall deck. A lot of guys are running short deck stuff now, but this is still a tall deck. It has a 3-speed Lenko with a Crowler pedal clutch, and it's on straight methanol, no nitro or anything like that. It makes about, they estimate and say it makes about 4,000 horsepower, but in this world anymore, horsepower is a fictitious number. It's all about how fast you can get down the track.
Now, what kind of tires are you running on that?
So I have 36-inch cruisers, 16-inch wide. It's a tall tire, and actually, I just bought a new set, to be honest with you. And so, looking forward to putting nice new rubber on there, a little bit of a break-in period, but hoping that'll help us with moving forward and, just making small changes with the car to try to get it to go faster. We definitely would like to be in the mid to low 550s by the end of the year, but, I'm not out to prove anything to anyone, as I've said many times before. I'm out there to have a lot of fun, as much fun as I can, let's say, I need to go out there and be smart in how we run the car, and to make sure we can make another run the next time. Because, I go out there and try to swing for the fence and turn everything into scrap metal. I'm not going to be racing anytime soon.
So now, how was the experience for you the first time ever getting in behind the wheel of a top Aka funny car?
Through the years, working with a lot of people, I kind of mentally prepared myself, but, up until the point that I actually strapped in the car, I would say I was not necessarily nervous, but I was very cautious about it, and I knew the car was safe. I basically built the car from front to back, from, buying everything and taking it apart, looking at everything. So I knew the car was safe. I knew everything. I knew what I was to expect, but there was obviously like the wow factor. It's just a whole different world. Bringing the RPMs up for the first time, all the cars that I drove before were Crowler glides. So, leaving from an idle, you don't bring the RPMs up or anything like that. So getting in this car, and, I was nervous that I was going to screw up the whole starting line procedure and all that. Launching the car at 6,500 to 7,000 RPM, afraid I was going to mess that up, and when I go to swap my feet, I screw up or all that. So I had a lot of pressure on myself, but after a few runs, everything started to slow down and get much easier. And unfortunately, yet fortunately, with all the ignition problems we had, it forced me to get a lot more seat time and a lot more launches on the car. So I got real comfortable with the procedure, and, having Lou as my partner in the car and him driving before, he had a lot of information to share with me. And, it was great to be able to talk about it, because, sometimes some guys, I guess, don't have the opportunity to talk about how you're supposed to do things or whatnot. You know, they're out there trying to learn at the seat of their pants, which is okay. But I was very fortunate to have some knowledgeable eyes and ears helping me along the way to keep myself comfortable and at ease on the whole process.
Now, do you get a lot of advice from the other drivers in Top Alcohol?
Oh, you know, one of the reasons that I love this class is because of the other drivers. You know, there's a lot of racing out there where everybody's out there cutthroat. You know, they'll do whatever they can do to beat you, sabotage you, etc. The Top Alcohol guys are great. They just, we're out here to have fun, and the more drivers that are out there, that's another person they get to race against. So it's everybody has been very supportive and was very open arm welcoming to me doing this. I've met a lot of the guys throughout the years with helping the other teams and whatnot. So a lot of guys were familiar with who I was. And when I finally decided to make the jump, there's been a lot of help from a lot of guys with everything. Josh Haskett was very helpful with me down at Maple Grove when I started. DJ Cox I talked to all the time, and he was very supportive. So, you know, those are just a couple guys that I talked to. John Headley, he's been around a long time. He's just, you know, he's a good guy. So, you know, I have a lot of respect for all these guys, because being on the outside, just crewing and working on it versus owning it, and then, you know, that whole aspect, it's a lifestyle. You know, my life revolves around this car and this class, as many of these guys do, I'm sure, as well. And it's a tough deal, but it's very rewarding at the same time.
Now, when you started drag racing, what did your parents think about you drag racing? They supported you?
I'm sorry, say that one more time? I apologize.
I said, when you began your drag racing career, were your parents supportive of you?
So my mom obviously said that she was nervous, and, you know, but I didn't really give her an option. When I told my father I bought a car and showed it to him, he says, "Well, you should have spent your money on that. You know, you should have bought a house or done something like this." And, you know, he's probably right, but they don't really bust my balls too much, so to speak, about it. They just, you know, as long as I'm happy, I guess, and I'm having fun. And, you know, obviously now my dad works on the car with me, so he obviously doesn't have too much to say about it. But other than, you know, it's pretty cool. You know, we get to travel a lot up and down the East Coast, and, you know, at first they were apprehensive, but now they're, you know, it is what it is. It's my life. It's, you know, it's my choices, and, you know, they support that, I think.
Well, you know your mom's listening right now, so.
Unfortunately. Just kidding.
So now, what drag racers were some of your influences?
You know, it's funny because I'm new to this whole world. You know, I always joke, and the first time I ever saw a drag strip, I was 20 years old with my father. We were at Maple Grove for the Super Chevy show, and we were there with his 77 G20 van that we were just going there to look at the hot rods that were there. We actually weren't even there to see racing. And, you know, the first time I saw a real race car, so to speak, was the Nostalgia Funny Cars at that car show in 2009, is when the car show was. You know, I fell in love with it then. I never really had, I want to say, a favorite driver or, you know, somebody I followed growing up, because, you know, like I said, I joked my father didn't love me. He never brought me to the racetrack, and, you know, he says he agrees, you know, at the same time, jokingly. But, you know, my inspirations or idols are, you know, I hate to say it, but my friends, you know, the guys that I worked with, you know, they're just, you know, looking up to them. That was my inspiration, and, you know, them being very encouraging, saying if you want more, you can do it. And you know, that's who I have to look up to.
Now, Brian, when you're out there on the starting line on the track, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions when you're out there?
You know, no, believe it or not. You know, I don't worry about anything else in the world. When I get in that car and I strap in, my focus is on my job, and that's it. You know, like I said, my partner Lou, I worked with him. I know his work ethic, and, you know, he's very adamant on safety, just as I am. but I know he wouldn't let me get in that car unless it was 100% ready to go, perfect. There's nothing that we're even questioning. So when I get in that car, my mindset is 100% on focusing to do my burnout, back up, the whole procedure, and everything else shuts down. I don't think about a single thing except my job as a driver, and I don't even worry about who's in the other lane. I don't worry about anything because it doesn't affect what I do. My job is to go out there and race my lane, race my race, and that's it. I'm not out there to, I don't look at another driver or another car and say, well, I know I could beat them. I don't have to run the car as hard. No, we run our car the same way every time. And I, as a driver, just do my job. That's it. I set my RPMs for launching, make sure I hit my shifts, and the parachutes come out. When I turn off at the top end of the track, my world comes back to me. As a driver, I shut down and I go back to, okay, I'm the crewman or, whatever the case is. But I don't let anything bother me. I don't have any music that hypes me up because I don't want to get anxious or, my adrenaline pumping too much because, of course, getting in the car, you get a little bit of adrenaline rush. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But I try to keep myself as calm as possible and focus on the job.
Now, do you have any favorite tracks?
Any favorite tracks? So I'm very partial to ACO. Honestly, throughout all the years, every car that I licensed in was at ACO. Throughout everything that I did throughout my career, even the top alcohol car. Len, he is just very open to, because he was a racer and he was a top alcohol racer, of course. Len, the owner, he caters to the class. He caters to anybody with a funny car, so to speak. Guys that are just trying to go out and have fun. I mean, I always have a good time there. I never have any issues. It's just very open to the racer that's just out there to have fun. I like Maple Grove a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's my home national event track, so to speak. But I have to say that my favorite track is ACO.
All right, now, what goes in the preparation for you to get ready for a weekend of drag racing?
Lots. For all the way down to cutting floaters and discs for the quad setup, so you have them for the event, to making sure you have enough oil loaded up on the trailer, enough fuel, or if you don't have enough fuel, you got to pick it up at the racetrack. We store the car itself in the shop, and the body gets stored in the trailer. So there's a little bit of shuffling around from hooking the trailer up to getting the trailer in position, because we don't have a giant open parking lot area, so to speak, to do everything. So there's a little bit of a tedious process to load the car up, loading all the extra tools, loading the tool tray, tying everything down. It's just a standard procedure pretty much every racer goes through. Just a little bit more complicated than some because of our space situation, but it's pretty routine. I mean, if we're going racing, say, we'll just give an example, ACO, and I want to be at the track the day before the race. I'm not a big fan of traveling the day of a race early in the morning, because if you have a breakdown or something like that, you missed a race, well, it was all for nothing. So I'd like to come the day before at the very minimum to set up and set the awning up and all this stuff, the pit, the whole 9 yards. But if I were to say we wanted to be at the racetrack on a Thursday, we'll pick up Tuesday and maybe even Monday the same week. We'll load the car up, have it ready to go, and be on our way whenever we need to be at the racetrack. Usually I travel with my father, and Lou travels himself, but hopefully change some of that stuff this year with some of the crew members. And I usually am the one doing all the driving, just because I don't mind it, but it would be nice to relax a little bit too.
Yeah.
There are other things too. Like, it depends on getting ready for a race. Obviously we spent this whole winter going to our car and making a lot of upgrades and whatnot. But in between races, we'll tear the car down and check everything. Maintenance is free. I don't know why some people, get away with not doing it. That's fine. I don't judge anybody. But, for us to take the car apart and look at everything with a fine-tooth comb, it doesn't cost us any money. At the very least, it's going to save us money. And, and just to save the tracks from we making a mistake and oiling the track, and then it slows the event down and hurts the spectator count because they're not watching racing, they're watching cleanups. There's a little bit of work involved with that, but we try to do as much of that at the racetrack as we can. But nonetheless, I mean, it's really kind of a routine process. Just simple: take it apart, inspect everything, put it back together. If it's damaged, replace it or order parts.
Now, Brian, if there's someone that might be listening to the interview right now and they're thinking about, maybe they want to drive a top car, funny car, what kind of advice would you give?
You have to be understanding to the fact that if you're going to own a car, your life revolves around it. It's never ending. If you want to have a toy to go out on the weekends and say, just for example, go to car shows and have fun, you buy a show car or a driver and you go and have fun. This is nonstop work. You're never done. There's always something to do. There's always something to improve. There's always something to learn, and it's very challenging because some of the best drivers in the country, will do this stuff, and it's you can have all the money in the world, and it doesn't mean you're going to go out there and win every race. It's a very tedious and time-consuming class. It's a very rewarding class, regardless of the case. I don't want to say you can't expect to go out there and win every race, because that's just a difficult thing to do no matter who you are. But it's a very humbling class as well. It keeps you grounded because it doesn't matter what you have or what you do. Anything can happen. This is, as far as drag racing goes, one of the most violent classes you can be involved with. Right up there with the pro cars. Depending on who you talk to, this class is considered a pro class, or it's the top level sportsman class. There's nothing faster, and it's a lot of fun. You just have to be willing to understand what you're getting yourself into. If I were to suggest anything, I'd say go crew for somebody and get involved that way first before jumping into it, because before you go and spend all this money to go 5.5 seconds, it may not be for you. And it's probably the best thing I could say is go crew for somebody and see what it's like from the outside, as close as you can get to it, and see the kind of work that's involved, because it's a lot. And I'm grateful for the people that are around me that allow me to do this. For my boss and my girlfriend and my kids that are very distant from me when I'm not racing. When I'm racing, of course. So it's great to have a good support package behind you, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this either. It's taking time off from work and leaving the family home for a weekend, 2 weekends, 3 weekends a month. It's a lot. And then it's not just the weekends you're away racing, but it's 3 to 4 nights a week that you're in the race shop working after work. If you have a regular job, 4 or 5 hours a day to make sure everything's right and ready to go.
So what keeps you passionate about doing it?
That's a good question. I don't know. Something about it. I hear an alcohol motor rev up, and I get goosebumps, and I just can't get enough of it. I was down in Florida this year, early in the year, helping a friend, Joe Morrison, making some license runs in the Leverage family Top Fuel dragster, and it was down in Bradenton, and there was a pro mod race going on, or they were doing some testing, and there was a couple alcohol, screw blown pro mods, and I heard it in the distance, and it gives me chills down my spine. Like I had to go watch. Something about a screw blown Hemi that it gets me going, and I can't get enough of it. It's just an uncontrollable desire that there is no cure for, and I'm not looking for one anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Yeah. You got that need for speed.
It is, and it's just there's something about when you launch the car, it's fast. Don't get me wrong. 3.5 to 4 G, somewhere around there. You'll feel, but when you go through the shutdown and you pull the parachutes and they hit, that feeling right there is just the best feeling on the planet. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, these alcohol cars, they got a lot of power, man.
Yeah, it's incredible what they can do, and just a little bit of alcohol. That's all it is.
Like you look at the funny car chaos, you got alcohol cars dominating the event.
Yes, I think the alcohol cars do real well because they usually have a good 8-mile time, and being that it's 8-mile racing, I think that's the advantage to that. The funny car chaos is the alcohol cars. I would be interested in doing a couple funny car chaos events if they were East Coast more. I just can't, with the given schedule that I have right now, I can't make the trip out west to some of those events. But I'm hoping in the future that they get some events on the East Coast because that looks like a lot of fun. I never thought there would be an opportunity for like an alcohol funny car lineup next to a nostalgia, nitro funny car or a big show, fuel funny car. I think it's a great event, a great thing that's going on, and it seems like it's gaining a lot of momentum.
Yeah, Chris Graves doing a good job with that.
Yeah.
Now you only run quarter mile?
Yes, we run quarter mile.
Have you ever ran an 1/8 mile?
Well, I mean, when I was licensing early on, and we were having believe it or not, every time the ignition would break up, it was right at the 8 mile. So I made a bunch of 8 mile passes, but if I were to compare the two, there's nothing like quarter mile racing. I love quarter mile racing, but the nice thing about 8 mile racing is you save a lot of parts.
Right.
You don't do as much damage.
Now, Brian, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
So my fire suit is a Simpson fire suit. A little story about that. When I first got involved with wanting to drive, Bob Rossetti said, you need a fire suit. And at the time, late Joe Cacona was still alive. And he was no longer driving for Bob. He had stopped driving. And he had a basically brand new Simpson 2-piece fire suit, gloves, boots, the whole 9 yards. I think he made about 12 passes in it. And I ended up buying Joe Cacona's last suit that he ever wore and used to drive. He told me, he gave me a great price on it. I can't complain. But he said there's only one rule. You can never take my name off of it. So I have my name on the suit, but it's on a patch that covers his name. If you ever get the opportunity to see me, I'll show you. It's turned the suit inside out. You can still see the stitching of Joe's name on the inside. So Joe rides with me all the time. My helmet is a Simpson helmet, and my seatbelts are DJ safety seatbelts. Parachutes are Simpson parachutes, and then blower restraint, diaper, and transmission blanket are Taylor.
All right. Now, have you reached any milestones in your drag racing career?
Just owning a car at this point. I'd have to say. I mean, I'm very aggressive with my goals on what I try to achieve and try to do because it pushes me to work harder to try to make it happen. So far, I've been very successful with making that happen. So I think I need to be a little bit more aggressive with my goals, but and getting further. But the biggest milestone I'd have to say is with getting licensed and the first year out with the car. When we were when I was working on Lou's car, his best time was a 562 at 258 miles an hour. And in 2 races, I was able to go faster and quicker than he ever did. Of course, with his help, but we were able to progress and move real rapid with getting the car to respond to us and me as a driver, which was, great for me. But I'd say that's probably the best milestone I've had right now is be able to kind of pick up where Lou left off and keep moving forward. We definitely want to. The next big milestone would be to see that 260 mile an hour run and go 550s, something. Whether it's a 559.9, anything, they put up a 550. That's the next goal right now.
All right, now I'm gonna ask you a few fun questions here before we close out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, outside of drag racing, you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, it's kind of hanging out with Lou a little bit more and more here. I really fell in love with pinball machines and old arcade machines. In fact, tonight I got a Miss Pac-Man stand-up arcade machine and had to replace a bunch of caps on the monitor board because it was not playing correctly. And I kind of fell in love with the old stuff again. I've always been a video gamer and, growing up as a kid, but I never was into pinball or arcade machines per se, but I really kind of fell in love with that stuff again because it's old school, it's nostalgic, and it's fun. It's playing the old stuff. There's nothing like it. Yeah,
I dropped so many quarters in those machines when I was young. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going after school, straight to the video games.
I've spent quite a bit of money on arcades at this point growing up, and especially now buying them. It's how much money we spent playing at the arcade. We could have bought the games if we would have realized it. But it's definitely a lot of fun. I kind of do it. Believe it or not, I like to get them cheap, obviously, and fix them up, make them playable again, and sell them, and take the money and buy a couple more games and do it, and flip the money around, and to get more games. And kind of, I do it more or less for the fun of it than I do for the money, but the money kind of helps pay for the race car too. So it's a revolving world there.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So now, in the top block funny car field, do you have a greatest competitor out of these guys?
I'm sorry. Do I have
a greatest competitor? You have do you have a greatest competitor out of the top block field?
Well, so right now, I mean, if you're gonna pick the greatest competitor, the best is still having a brain fart here. Sean Bellemere. I mean, he is the best, and there's nothing more than beating the best. But I would say he's a big competitor. I'd love to race him more. I mean, hopefully this year I get to race him more. But everybody's great. I mean, like I said before, this class is tough. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have. Everybody's fast now. So and consistent, and that's pretty much everybody. But I'd like to go up and race Sean a bunch more, and I know he's going to beat me more times than I am, but I'd like to go up there and beat Sean. That would be fun.
Now, have you won any trophies in your drag racing career?
Have I what?
Have you won any trophies?
Nostalgia Funny Car, driving for Rocky Perone. I won a race down at Cecil County. It was a Great Lakes race. I won kind of by default. Long story there, but that's about the only trophy I have as of right now. I'd like to add to that quite a bit, but we'll see what happens.
Now, if you were able to do time traveling and go back into time, would you do anything differently with the racing career?
I probably wouldn't have bought the first car. Believe it or not, I would have probably saved my money, and if I really would have thought ahead and realized that I could afford a car and I could go do this, I would have saved my money and did things a little bit differently to buy a car sooner. That's about it, though. I mean, I wouldn't have changed crewing for anybody or any of that. It's very fortunate to learn from a lot of people, and they were willing to teach me, and I can't complain about any of that. I had a lot of fun and wouldn't change any of that.
All right, now, what is your favorite food that you like to eat?
Favorite food? Ice cream.
Favorite beverage?
Unsweetened iced tea, believe it or not.
Favorite music?
You could say classic rock and some, I don't want to say heavy metal, but we'll just say metal.
All right. Now, do you have a favorite band?
Rush.
Yeah, rest in peace, Neil Peart.
Yes, absolutely. That's such a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, you have
I was lucky enough to see those guys, I think 5 times with my father. When it came up to, when I was getting about 18 or so, and then beyond that, me and my father started going and seeing them as much as we could, and then, of course, they stopped touring. So
yeah, that's awesome. I never did get to see Rush. Yeah.
The best part about Rush, and I say this to everybody, is I saw them indoors and outdoors, and their sound is identical every time, no matter where you are. Their sound crew and their ability to make their music sound the same no matter where they are is just mind-blowing to me.
Now, Brian, what's your favorite movie of all time?
That's tough. If I were to say, man, I don't know. I want to say Gone in 60 Seconds, believe it or not.
All right, most embarrassing moment on the track.
Most embarrassing moment on track. First time I ever drove an alcohol funny car for Bob Rossetti. I go to launch the car and I panicked and I took my foot off the throttle as soon as I hit it. And I 2-stepped it. That's about it.
Biggest pet peeve?
Walking away from the car when it's not done being ready to get put in the trailer. Big fan of making sure that the car is put away and done and all the work's done before you go and have fun.
All right, now, what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
I'd have to say, with trying to license in the top alcohol car, it was very humbling because it wasn't happening as fast as I was hoping. First time I got to make a full pass at ACO, made the full run. I knew it was fast. I didn't know how fast, but finally getting that full run A to B, that was emotional. I got out the top end and cleared up pretty good, and it was just like we finally got it, and it was that much better.
Awesome. Well, Brian, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do the interview.
Yeah, no problem.
You have any final words? Thank yous, any kind of shout outs, anything you wanted to do before we close?
Wash your hands. No, I mean, really, let's hope we can get through this and we'll go racing again sometime soon. That's all.
And when you wash your hands, make sure you wash them for 20 seconds.
Yeah. And use soap. That's also important.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Brian.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
And I wish you the best of luck with the season this year.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No problem. You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.